I would like to start today with an apology. Unfortunately, Dr. Sean Davis has been unable to join us today. He does send his apologies as he was very keen to be here. But thank you for joining this session today. I'll be sharing an honest account of Simplyhealth's journey through understanding mental health in our business. I'm also delighted to share the success of our client, Royal Mail, with you to inform and inspire those of us who are still working towards incorporating mental health support initiatives within our organisations. Please feel free to submit any questions via Slido, and if we have time, we will review them at the end. I'll also try and get the hang of the PowerPoint. Firstly, Simplyhealth's story. Our HR data shows us that the biggest cause of sickness absence in our organisation is mental health. In fact, when looking at the figures from our EAP provider, we can see that nearly half of all calls made to the service over the last year by our staff were for mental health related reasons. Furthermore, the data shows that 95% of work-related calls were for work-related stress. These numbers gave us the realisation that while we might have been extolling the virtues of mental health support externally, typically talking to you guys, we might not have been practising what we were preaching. We recognised that there was still a gap in our toolkit in supporting mental health, so we have undertaken a number of initiatives to support our employees' mental health, providing mental health first aid training to our line managers and promoting our employee assistance programme across the company. Despite this EAP programme being in place for a number of years, it was very enlightening and surprising that very little employees knew about it. We also used Mental Health Awareness Week to test new initiatives to raise awareness within the business and get employees to feedback on things we trialled. Initiatives like a dedicated chill-out space where we created a serene environment where people could relax and recharge. This proved to be a very popular initiative and one that we are looking to make permanent. This feels like a great start for Simplyhealth, but has not yet become fully embedded in our culture, and we could run the risk of this becoming just a tick box exercise. So we are still very much on the journey. So, the Royal Mail story. Royal Mail is very much ahead of the curve when it comes to training for mental health support, the gold standard that all of us should be aiming for. I'm delighted to be able to share their story with you so we can learn and follow in the footsteps of Royal Mail's excellent example. We recently spoke with Rachel Boone, Royal Mail's Group Head of Health and Wellbeing, about the initiatives for supporting mental health that they have put in place, how Rachel implemented them, and what the impact has been, and it is a truly inspiring story. Under CEO Moya Green's leadership, Royal Mail had shown external commitment to mental health, signing the Time to Change pledge and supporting the Heads Together campaign. And internally, the organisation had their Feeling First Class and First Class Support health and wellbeing brands. But the business was still keen to do more. Rachel was tasked with designing a mental health strategy for the whole business, an incredibly complex challenge both in terms of supporting and delivering to 142,000 internal customers. Rachel did not have an army of support or even budget to deliver, therefore required some creative thinking. Employee demographics also posed a challenge for Royal Mail. In the 82% of their employees are male, and the majority are in their late 40s and early 50s, a typical resistant audience that doesn't believe in mental health. But still, it was an issue that they needed to address. Mental health, like Simplyhealth, was the largest absence category of all long-term sickness during 2016 and 17. And there was a commercial requirement to maximise employee attendance, along with corporate social responsibility. So where did Rachel start? Well, she started by simplifying what she wanted to achieve and create a 5-year strategy that they could successfully land. Her view was that to address a complex challenge, she needed to keep the solution simple. A brand was created because healthy minds matter, underpinned by 4 strategic pillars. The first pillar, increasing awareness. developing and building awareness amongst the workforce at all levels. The second, decreasing stigma, working towards a culture where mental health can be discussed openly and freely. Thirdly, signposting, providing tools and support and how to access them. And fourth, most important, where to go in a crisis, ensuring that everyone is clear on where they can get support in that time of crisis. Involving leadership at an early stage was key to gaining buy-in and commitment, to getting sign-off and engaging with leaders on an eye-to-eye level. For it to be successful, it was important for Rachel that leadership could walk the talk, and she recognised that it takes time for it to be consistent. Rachel challenged herself to be challenging in these conversations with leadership so that they could really think about why this strategy was important. Telling the story of real situations within the business where the impacts on colleagues had been significant. There are subtle differences between marketing and communicating a message. Royal Mail leveraged these differences and adopted a marketing approach to creating and embedding the brand because healthy minds matter, along with a logo which is driving and increasing engagement and awareness. Multimedia campaigns helped launch Because Healthy Mind Matters, including internal newspapers, TV and Z cards. With a significant proportion of Royal Mail employees having no access to work, email or phone, communication also relied on the 10,000 managers to disseminate the message. All 10,000 managers had undertaken an e-learning programme. Measuring success. This was an interesting conversation I had with Rachel, and by her own admission is a challenging one to evidence. Creating measures of success was tricky, but the encouraging signs is that Royal Mail's wellbeing score has already increased by 1%. A small percentage, however, a significant number in such a large business employing 142,000 colleagues. There are also plans in the future to include more specific questions around wellbeing and mental health. Rachel is also confident that the awareness of mental health is growing within the organisation. People are hearing about it and making comments. Some, she said, are complaints, but that does show that people are becoming more aware. Among managers, the awareness is also there. Perhaps, she said, the next step is to build better consistency of knowledge in signposting within this group, something they are looking to address by the end of this year. It has also provided an amazing opportunity for Royal Mail to further engage with the union and build a two-way relationship. So next steps. Well, the next steps for Royal Mail include upskilling 5,500 physical first aiders in undertaking mental health first aid training, and the organisation has also put 80 pilot mental health ambassadors in place. Rachel does say, every day is a school day. If 142,000 employees can say, "How are you?" and can signpost effectively, that, in her opinion, would be amazing to achieve. So if you don't take anything else away from this session, please do take away these 3 steps for your roadmap to success. Firstly, get a handle on the size of any potential issue. Really understand the problem and use what data you have in your business to understand and inform you. Involving senior stakeholders from the start to ensure buy-in. As Rachel said, be challenging. Don't be afraid to share real-life stories of colleagues to really shine a light on this problem. And lastly, develop a clear roadmap for delivering and maintaining your new strategy. It is complex, but as Royal Mail have shown, it needn't be a complex solution. Rachel finished by saying, it's about being bold and brave. The problem isn't a simple one, but the solution can be. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that this has inspired you to, at the very least, understand if mental health is an issue in your business. I mentioned at the beginning that I'd be happy to take any questions that you posed on Slido. So if there are any questions. What does mental health first aid training involve? What are the risks of a manager taking this on? From our own experience, Simplyhealth used our employee assistance programme provider to provide mental health training, and we implemented that. I'm not sure how long that took. Was that about a couple of hours out their day? It wasn't a significant commitment from them in their day. However, I can say that without exception, every manager was very keen to go on the training and to be involved in it. What percentage of an organisation should be mental health first aid trained? I think that is very much dependent on, on your own business. In Royal Mail's instance, they trained all 10,000 managers. All these managers have access to the 142,000 employees, so it was important for them that they did touch everybody who covered all employees. For us at Simplyhealth, we were exactly the same. We put through all line managers who have got personnel responsibility, put them through the training so that at least they had the basic knowledge to signpost and knew where to signpost people to. Oh, crikey. How did Royal Mail measure their employee wellbeing score? I wouldn't be able to answer that question honestly. It was through the usual sending out surveys, asking people to rate 1 to 10. So it was on that basis. But if anybody is interested, then do speak to me afterwards, and I can find that out for them. What communication strategy? Oh, sorry, we're flicking through them very quickly. I'll go for the top one. What communication strategies were used to ensure these not office-based, had no access to computer, were aware of everything? From what Rachel said to me, they used their Royal Mail internal newspaper, which they do deliver to every 142,000 employees. So all employees get the newspaper drop at their home address. When creating the brand, I mentioned the brand earlier, they also use a logo so that employees, whenever there is communication around mental health, the logo is used, so they were starting to get this real sense of engagement. They also mentioned Z-Cars. They've got the 10,000 managers trained, so they used a variety of medium to make sure that they did get the message through to everybody. Do your employees understand the term Employee Assistance Programme? No, they didn't. And that was what was very enlightening when we did go out and ask the question, are you aware of the EAP? The EAP, the what? The what? PEA? No, they didn't. And that was quite worrying for us, bearing in mind that that's part of the healthcare proposition that we provide. But it did give us a real opportunity to engage with everyone. We had roadshows, people came and talked to us, and those that didn't come and talk to us, we proactively went out to them. So the chances are we will see a spike, we will see even a further increase in contact with our EAP assistance programme. However, it was absolutely important to ask the question, and when we heard the answer, we addressed the challenge. How do you support your mental health first aiders? They're all aware, as a group, they've all been through the training together, so they've kind of created a bit of a support network themselves. But one of the things that the EAP provider trainers did impart with them is that we're not expecting them to be clinical psychologists. We just want them to recognise the problems, to see a colleague that they normally see day in, day out, who perhaps is behaving different, who's perhaps not as gregarious or vivacious as they normally are, who's perhaps not engaging with colleagues, who's perhaps making mistakes, just to understand, to be aware, and to ask the question, as Royal Mail said, how are you? It starts with a simple question, but it also means that that individual has to listen and really try and understand. But the signposting is all there, the tools are all there for the manager to be able to signpost that employee so that they're not getting too involved themselves. I don't think I've addressed all the questions, but we've flicked through them. Is that all of them? Oh, they disappeared. Oh. Was the company faced with much resistance from staff? No, I don't think so. From our own experience, I can talk about Simplyhealth. From our experience, it was almost as if there was a sense of relief, a real sense of relief, that people were given the platform, the freedom to talk about challenges. And we had a number of colleagues, very brave colleagues, who shared their story with us and allowed us to use that story internally. So we were able to communicate their journey through mental health, and that has really resonated with all employees and given other employees the confidence to come forward and talk to us and appreciate and realise that this actually is a safe environment where, as Rachel from Royal Mail said, it's removing all stigma from talking about it. Okay, well, thank you all very much. I hope that has been informative. And any questions, please ask. Thank you.